Hello, it's your boy, recklessray, and we are here with the pilot episode. I repeat, the pilot episode. This is going to be something a little bit different, something a little change of pace. I'm going to have, at least from the looks of it, depending on how things work out, this is going to be a weekly, bi weekly drop called Future Financial Strategies. A lot of you have come to my channel because of either the stuff that you've seen me talking about on panels or the stuff you see me talk about on my live stream, or you're here because of my portfolio update, which has been the only consistent thing that's been going up on this channel for a long time. And one of the things I always run into, and the reason I'm starting this specific branch of this channel, which is Future Financial Strategies, is because a lot of people, they're always like, oh, you're the money guy, you're the money guy, you're the money guy. At least in the panels that I'm on. And like, I'm by nowhere near close to have made it, but I am in the process of making it, which means that I am in the same position that maybe a little bit better, a little bit different than most of you are. So I feel like my perspective on this isn't dictating to people. I am documenting the journey and letting you see the moves that I'm making as I make them and, reporting back the results. So with that, most of my conversation piece when it comes to money is related around cryptocurrency because that is something that I am heavily involved in. I have been involved in it since 2013. So as of this year, a decade. I've got my 10,000 hours. We can have the conversation in regards to that. There are things that I don't really speak on that I kind of have other people pour into me on. And some of the things that I've come up with being in this hybridized market, this very new market, a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm realizing a lot of other people aren't doing. And like a lot of the perspectives I have, I realize a lot of other people don't have. So I figured I would document some of those strategies because like a lot of stuff that a lot of these older guys are talking about, like they don't necessarily work anymore, or they don't work in any type of fashion that would be timely enough to be useful to people coming up now. Like you're just not going to see results. And I tell people all the time that, you're making a play that's going to be a decade. When I first started getting my stuff together, basically was at 25 and I am 38 now, and I am just now starting to get a peek at some of those results. Like things are starting to get noticeably easier and things are starting to move a little bit faster. So like the ball's kind of rolling down the hill now a little bit for me. But when I started, I was just basically kind of meandering around trying to figure out some of the moves, doing some of the traditional stuff that people told you to. Save your money, hopefully you'll get rich. Saving your money, that's not possible. Trying kind of half-heartedly to invest, kind of filling up 401ks and then dumping them when I change jobs, kind of not knowing that I should have had a Roth. Just a lot of the tools I'd either were using or not using appropriately, and then by the time I started using them, you're in a situation where inflation's running rampant and the monetary system's not necessarily stable, which affects your middle class and poor the most. Being middle class, it affected me. So I started switching some things around. Next thing you know, I had a couple of things that I had prepared for to put me in a position to get lucky and executed on those, and now we're still executing. So that brings us to this pilot video. I figured for a pilot video, we're not jumping directly into strategy. The first thing that I changed on my journey is my mindset. So this video is going to be a little short. Okay, it might not be short. I'm assuming that these videos are probably going to be between 30 minutes and an hour. It's kind of what I'm shooting for. This one will probably be longer because I can ramble on these topics forever because I enjoy talking finance and strategy. We're going to go over the three misconceptions. There are way more than three misconceptions, but the three misconceptions about building wealth and the mindset needed to conquer them. A lot of the things that I talk about will reference back to mindset and discipline specifically. Those are kind of my staples. It's what you do all the time, not what you do some of the time, that changes your life. So, with that said, let's jump into it. Okay, so as I stated in the first one, we're going to go over 3 barriers in this video. The first one, you can't overcome obstacles. The second one, income is the same as wealth. And the third one, possessions define wealth. These are 3 barriers that I think specifically are great for a starting video for my pilot video for this channel, because these are 3 things that you run into a lot, especially out in these YouTube streets. The first one's an excuse, and the other 2 are just misidentifications of wealth. So, with that said, let's keep on going. So we're going to hit the first one here. First one is income is the same as wealth. This you run into a lot, especially in the conversations in the manosphere, the red pill space, which is a space that I am also in. And the high value man conversation. 6 foot, 6 figures, 6-pack. But that doesn't actually pertain to wealth. So these people are like, oh, I'm a high value man. Or a Henry, as they put, high earner, not rich yet. Those people just consider themselves rich. And the caveat to that is you could have all the income in the world, but if you spend it like a poor person, you are poor. You have nothing to show for your work. If you stop producing, personally, that well immediately dries up because there's no backstop. Like, you can always tell where a person's at when you ask them how much runway they have, and then they give you deer eyes or they give you a blank stare, where they haven't grasped into the concept of like, oh, I'm making a lot of money, but like if I don't have any of this set back, or if I don't own assets, then I really don't have a lot of money. What you have is you have a job that produces a lot of income, but you're not wealthy. You just have income coming in. And there are people out there, I mean, there's plenty of reference points. You can always find these. If you look at, I mean, some of the videos that some of the people who talk finance have done, like Anton Daniels did one where they were talking about the person who was making it was a 6 figures a year, and they're living paycheck to paycheck because like every dime that comes in, they're spending it. And I think the only asset they had was their house. So you can have people who are making a lot of money, who are making upwards of $150,000, $200,000 that don't have their savings secured yet. That maybe the only thing that they own that's an asset is their house that they live in, which really you can't count as an asset because like you have to live in it. Which is, it's one of those things where you can get into the semantics of it, but it's like when it comes to gauging wealth, those are measurable metrics, just like gauging your salary. Like a lot of people in these YouTube spaces, at least from the looks of it, make more money than I do. But they're talking about they can't invest, and they're buying Nikes, and they have a bunch of Nikes. And then whenever they're on these panels arguing with other people, it goes down to, oh, well, I make more than you. And it's like, well, if you don't have anything to show for it, that really doesn't matter, especially considering we live in a time where everyone could get told to stay at home at any moment, and then you don't have any income coming in, and then you'd have no money. Like you were then again at zero with your Nikes that you're not going to move because then nobody's buying stuff. So that is a common misconception, and it's obviously having the income gives you the option to do some more interesting things, and it definitely gets you, and I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely after you get a little bit of money stacked up, you can definitely see the movements of that money and the things that money is doing way faster, and it's a lot less boring to look at once you've got like a little nest egg built up to invest with. That said, it is important to actually be building and chipping away at getting that going. So when you start off, if you're starting from ground zero, like I did, it's very boring for a while. I'd say probably, I mean, unless you've already got the income, because like I didn't have the income. Like I was always under the understanding that like my runway, as far as escape velocity for me personally, and that's being a single male with no kids, living in the city that I live in. I live in the Midwest, so like my cost of living, it's not super crazy, was $50,000. And I was like, if I can't figure this out on $50,000, I don't deserve to be rich. That's just me navigating with the money that I had coming in. So when I started this journey, I was probably making, as a single man living in the city that I live in, with no kids, I was making probably, when I started out on this, I'm pretty sure I was at about 40. And like at 40, I was like, look, you got to start getting your stuff together. Like you're not doing kids stuff anymore. Obviously, with the current economic climate, I'm not going to say that I'm saying if you're a single man and you don't have kids and like you can't figure out your living situation, and that's not you live in the place that you want to live that you can't afford to live, so your house broke. That's you make the necessary moves and sacrifices to make your numbers work, because you don't have a kid, you don't have a family, it's just you. So for me, like under the current circumstances, wherever you're at, it's important to start there. But like for me, my opinion still stands roughly the same. I'm saying 55 to 60,000. You should be hitting escape velocity. If you, as a single man with no kids, can't figure that out, you don't deserve to be rich. That's my stance on it. Like, we don't have to live in cities where you're house poor. You don't have to live in cities where you can't afford to subsist and you're a paycheck away from being homeless because you can't afford to live there. As men, we can make those sacrifices, or as individuals, period. It's like you're not entitled to just be wherever you want to be. You got to earn it. So for me, I'm like 55 to 60. I'm like, you should be starting to be able to sort this out as a single person who doesn't have kids. Like it just doesn't, the math doesn't math, because it's not that expensive to be a single person with no kids. Like if you got kids, then that's a different conversation. I can't speak to that because I don't have those additional barriers to doing that. But the misconception that your income, like, oh, I just hit six figures and now I'm wealthy, is just not true. There's plenty of six-figure people that are broke as can be, worth negative dollars, worth less than I am, because they are in debt and their income doesn't cover what they're spending, and they're putting on airs to impress a bunch of people that don't care about them anyways to look like they're doing something. So that's the first misconception. The next one is possessions define wealth. Now, this one specifically is another place where people air off, and it's a big one for the YouTube space, and it goes back to mindset, and it goes back to what we're putting at the forefront of what defines a wealthy person. And I get it. Nobody wants to listen to somebody who's telling them something that they're A, either not doing, or B, they're armchair quarterbacking someone else's life. So especially with the YouTube space, we have a lot of social proofing. So you'll get the people who want to show you their car and flex on you with their car. You'll get people that want to show you that they got 20,000 pair of Nikes, and they'll flex on you with the Nikes. You see the Rolex watches. The other watches, like I'm not even a watch person, so like realistically, beyond Rolex, I don't know anything. And I got educated on watches a couple of live streams ago, and now I'm just like, I'm just not going to talk about watches because I don't know about watches. I have what I like, but I'm not the watch guy. But they're flexing on you with like frivolous things: a Gucci belt, Gucci shirt. Oh, I've got what are some of the other funny ones that we see? Oh, the Versace robes. Everybody's got robes now. Um, all of these things that don't matter, that are not indicators of wealth, they're indicators that you can spend money. And obviously, there's only a couple of YouTubers that I know that are willing to actually have a money fight. And so this isn't directed at the ones that actually got it. It's directed at the ones that are extracting resources from other people pretending like they got it when we don't know if they actually got it or not. But these front facing things that are just possessions, that are just things that realistically, if you were to do a net worth assessment, are not going to be things that actually build, or that somebody would actually care about in regards to assessing whether a person's wealthy or not. And we're looking at like from a cultural perspective, it's like we almost put all the frivolous things to the forefront, or the frivolous things are marketed because the system isn't set up for you to win. So they're going to have you spend your money along the way to prove that you got it. Oh, well, you got money, then like you should go have this car. You should get the Gucci belt. And now you have people who are high earners that go blow their whole check. Actually, I wouldn't even say you don't even have to be a high earner. You have people who just blow their whole check. They're not high earners at all. They go blow their check. They're in credit card debt so they can get a Gucci belt to go to the club to impress people and make them think that they're living a lifestyle that they're actually not, because they go home and have nothing, but they have a Gucci belt at the club, or they have the car at the club, or better yet, they're renting the car to look cool for you in these YouTube streets and at the club, and then they don't have anything. Ladies, girl game. If you go out on a date, if you meet a dude at the club and he's got a really, really nice car at the club, and then the second time you hang out with him, he's driving a Hyundai or something, and he continually tells you that car is in the shop, that car's forever in the shop because it's not his car. Sorry, guys, but like, we gonna call it what it is. People are out here flexing in the foreground because they would rather look rich and wealthy than be rich or wealthy. They're looking at wealth as things, which, in all honesty, is the way women perceive wealth. Because if you're talking to two men, well, we should have the ability and the logic to dive one layer deeper and be like, oh, cool, bro. Like, what do you own? Like, what are your assets? Like spreadsheets, something, something tangible. Like the belt's cool, but that's not saying anything to somebody who either actually familiar with how money or wealth works, or somebody who's actually got wealth. Like that Gucci belt is not impressive to anyone who's got it. It's only impressive to other people who are broke. So the possessions defining wealth is the second one. And I'm actually going to tack this on to here, which is the other one, because I don't think I made a panel for it. And, it's a pilot episode, so there are going to be mistakes, and I'm pretty sure that's one of them. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit that other point, because I think it's a very important metric that's also people like to put out there, and it's the excuse, the not able to overcome barriers. And specifically for that panel, I was going to address unforeseen medical emergencies, because that's a huge hurdle for people, and it's a valid one. You could also throw in on there, oh, I've got kids, I've got a family now, I can't move how I was gonna move. Oh, and honestly, I think those are the two major ones: unforeseen medical emergency, or having kids out of wedlock before you're ready. Or actually, you could throw in my wife won't let me. Like some of you have married into somebody who's not on your program and you're on their program. So like you're running the house out of order, and now you can't make the moves you need to make to build wealth, or you say you can't. The reality is all of these, so the first two were perceptual discrepancies, but this one is literally an excuse, because I've always referenced, I know people who literally went to their grave and never paid their medical bills back. So like that, like that's only so much of an excuse. If people are out here and they're just not paying it back, and then they're also obviously dying in poverty, but if they were capable of redirecting those funds that they could have paid the medical bills back with getting the short-term gratification their whole life to the tune that they were out here flexing and then they died and they had medical bills, and then after that they never paid them back, then like you can redirect those funds to paying them back the minimum and redirecting those funds to making moves for yourself. um the child having the children out of wedlock thing, or I've got a kid or a baby mama or whatever. I know people who are wealthy that have baby mamas, so I can't accept that as an excuse because they did it. And there's a lot of people out here, like the fact that I don't have a child out of wedlock is an anomaly. And I know plenty of guys who have way more money than I do that had kids early and had children out of wedlock, or they got a baby mama now who's extracting money out of them. So it's one of those things where it's like you're looking at these things and it's what's more important. Because if you're rocking Nikes and you're talking about you got kids, then it's not that you don't have the money, it's that you're using your money for short-term gratification, which is fine, but just say that, like, let's call it what it is. Or if you're doing stuff with your kid, then that's also fine, but let's just say that, because people have kids that are also wealthy. People have kids that have plans to build wealth. Even if it's not within their generation, they have plans to build it within, to set their kids up so that their kids continue the building, and that eventually that comes to fruition. It's about what you're doing with the dollars that are coming in. Unless I mean, even if you're upside down, credit card debt, because that's one that I can speak intimately to. Up until I'd say the beginning of, probably 6 months into the beginning of the pandemic, so like I think it's like 2020, I had personally probably around $30,000 in credit card debt that I was handling while getting the stuff in place for when that pandemic hit. Like, I was actively in the midst of battling with that, and I mean, you can walk and chew gum. I did both. Like, I just worked really hard. I had to put in a lot of hours. There were times where I didn't get, actually, there were probably about 3 or 4 years once I dialed in on that, where I just didn't get to do what I wanted to do most of the time. Like, I made time to do stuff sometimes, but most of the time I was grinding it out. Like, I had to get that debt up out of here. Like, I made the mess, you got to clean it up. Not the funnest, but it's what needed to happen. But that during that time period, I was still putting money towards my investments, towards the future. It wasn't just, oh, I'm just going to pay this off. It was like setting up plans, setting up budgets, putting things in place so that it wasn't just me paying down this debt and then feeling like I've accomplished nothing. So now I feel like I need to go just frivolously purchase, because I do understand how that is. Because like when I get stressed out, I make stress purchases. Like, it's a thing that I do. And it's probably because most of the time I'm so rigid that like I don't buy myself stuff. So I completely recede away from the dopamine hit from purchasing things. But like if I get like super stressed, it is not uncommon that like I'll get in there and be like, okay, what's on my want list? And like I'll go knock out like 3 things, and it's like, cool. Like, I don't really feel any better, but Jesus, like there's some sort of release there. So I understand that. It's just I don't run my life by that. It's a sometimes, and it's normally well thought out. And like if it's getting to a time where I'm grinding, like I have a list of things that are on my wants list where it's like, these are things that I want that eventually I'll get around to them, and I never do. And that list is specifically there strategically for when I need to make those stress purchases. And they're normally thought out. There's a reason behind it. Like any large purchase, which I consider over $100, there's got to be an explanation for it for me personally. Like otherwise, I just feel like I'm blowing money. But it's not one or the other. Like people can walk and chew gum. So if you're facing one of those barriers, it's like you got to handle the barrier, but like you also need to seed for the future for after you're done with that battle, whatever that battle is. Um, and that's where we're at on that. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time out to check out my pilot launch video. And so this is going to actually sit at about 30 minutes. So these videos specifically are going to just be released straight through. I might do something a little extra for my people over on Rumble just because you can get away with a little bit more over there. So like I'm kind of trying to figure out if I want to do like an unfiltered or continue just doing my dual uploads of the one video. For right now, it's probably going to be the one video, but it's if you're looking in the description, it has all my contact stuff in there. If you want to reach out to me on social, probably the best way is dropping DM on Instagram, um, which my Instagram's actually pretty boring, but like with these videos that I'm getting ready to start doing, there's gonna be some more interesting stuff on there. So I'm probably gonna be a little bit more active. Like right now, I literally only use it to be in contact with other content creators at this point. Just reaching out, knowing when panels are, when I'm something that I'd be interested in, or somebody specifically wants me on their channel. That's how you get a hold of me. Obviously, that's going to be in the description. The other thing, I am part of the Anton Daniels Bag Chasers Patreon group. I highly promote it on my crypto channel. They're the reason that any of these channels are getting sprung out and getting tested. So I don't have like another very direct means or places where you can see me taking part in conversations offline right now. Really kind of dialed in over there, providing as much value as I can, also extracting as much value as I can, because there's a lot of people way smarter than me over in that group. But the link to that is also in the description, because like since that's where I'm at, I'm gonna promote it. Like it's no skin off my back. So you can reach me over there if you want to support the channel. Definitely liking, subscribing, and sharing. Also, so this this is my first time playing with something like this, and so like over the holiday, I've just been screwing around with a lot of the stuff. So like most of my pilot videos that I'm dropping for this year will be coming out within this week of probably this week through next week. I'll be dropping the pilot videos for the stuff that I'm actually going to dial into for this year and lock in and be active on, which I'm thinking is probably, I've got like maybe one or two videos. I don't want to overcommit and then not do them. So I think I can manage this, my crypto channel, I'm intending on doing a book report, and I'm definitely going to do that. And then I've got one more out of a couple of ideas in the hopper that I'm going to be considering doing. But as those are dropping, feedback on what you guys think, because I thought this was kind of neat, and I thought it was a pretty interesting way to segue into this, because like this channel specifically is going to be going on into how I'm navigating from a financial perspective, like how I do banking, because like I don't do banking traditionally because I don't believe in banks, beyond being able to pay bills. Some of the ways that I move money around, I don't believe in saving because I know you can't save your way to be rich. So like how I save my money versus how other people traditionally save their money. Those things are different. There's going to be some strategies in there, some things that I find interesting that are doable, and as long as they're still doable, we're gonna dive into those. Obviously, there's going to be some crypto conversation on this channel because that's my namesake and what I go to. as far as money is concerned, that's my reference point. A lot of different mindset conversations about how somebody who's entrenched in the crypto space looks at some of the traditional finance stuff. Some hot takes on that. So I'm hoping that this is a little bit easier for some of the people who know me from the crypto sphere and talking about crypto all the time. Easier way for them to segue in to some of my stuff, because like if you're on my crypto playlist, like I am down the rabbit hole in there. And like over here it's going to be like that hybrid space between what I'm doing and then how I'm still, cuz like you can't, at least at this point they don't have bill pay yet. Like as soon as we get bill pay, I am out. But we don't have bill pay yet, so like there's some nuances in how like my money flows. So we'll be diving into some of those things. There's ways to support the channel. All the financial support I get to this channel are going to be seeded back into the channel so that I can do more cool stuff, make the channel look nicer, free up time for video ideas, stuff like that. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're having a great week. Welcome to 2023. We're entering into the dark tunnel towards the light at the end of the tunnel being 2024, I guess, according to what we've been told and what it looks like is happening. So we're gonna navigate it together, and hopefully I can give you guys some value and insight in how to get through said dark tunnel and come out the other end better than when you entered. That's all I got for tonight for you guys. Hope you enjoy the video. Drop me a like, drop a subscribe, share with your friends. Definitely bring some people over here. We will also be having some intermittent live streams coming soon. And that's going to be it for today, folks. It's Reckless Ray, and I am out.